Before we have a lecture, before we offer words about truth, we pause. We become silent, still, receptive. Please let us be clear about that. To those who are not familiar with our work, this is not a formality. It is the method. The subject before us cannot be apprehended by intellect, cannot be contained in definitions or sharpened concepts. Reading about God is far from experiencing God. Hearing the word is not yet the word imparted. And so, just for a moment, even now, let us turn within, not to ask, not to outline, not to persuade, but to listen in an attitude of expectancy. Our meditation is not mental work. It is a simple consent, a yielding, a quiet, "Here I am." For the kingdom of God is within you, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. And identity, if it is to be known, must be realized there. We all speak this way, and many of us have said it sincerely. I'm trying to become who I really am. At first blush, that sounds spiritual. It sounds noble. But most often, if we are honest, we have meant, I am trying to become a more acceptable human, a more successful human, a more peaceful and loving human. There is nothing in this world wrong with courtesy, efficiency, clean habits, or an ordered life. Let us not make war on decency. But please see with me. Self-help polishes the person. Spiritual realization reveals being. The one rearranges the furniture of effect. The other returns us to cause. An almost frightening fact is this. The most refined human is still under human government. And yet, take no alarm. Let it only sober us. This is not an attack upon your best attempts to be good or kind. It is a correction about what liberation actually is. Liberation is not another project of the personal mind. It is not personality renovated or biography upgraded. Identity, in the spiritual sense, is not a concept to refine, but a reality to be realized within. All power is in the Word, and the Word is within you. Never the word that goes out from our mouth, nor the cleverly turned affirmation. The Word of God, realized in the deep of your own being, is the only authority that can govern life harmoniously. Let us see it in this wise. Anything in the external realm, reputation, health, position, even religious accomplishment, is an effect. As we chase effects, they run. As we turn to cause, effects arrange themselves. Our work, then, is not to manufacture a holier self, but to yield to the presence that already is. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. That sentence will be our atmosphere. What follows in our time together will gently, steadily dismantle ego spirituality. Not to condemn the seeker, for we have all sought in the wrong direction, but to invite the inward turn where identity is not imagined, but revealed. In proportion as we touch that realm within our own being, in that proportion shall the sense of strain, of managing, of becoming, fall away. And being, the I that is Christ within, will stand forth as cause. An almost frightening fact confronts us. And please, let us be clear about that. As human beings, whether polished or crude, whether moral or immoral, we are not under the government of God. As long as life is lived in personal sense, by might, by right thought, by admirable habit, life remains exposed to fear, to lack, to sickness, to conflict, to age, to death. You may keep a good house, meet your obligations, maintain pleasant relations, and still wake at 3 in the morning with a hollow under the ribs. You may practice excellent disciplines, speak kindly, affirm good, and yet find that anxiety slips through the cracks like a draft in winter. That is not because goodness is wrong, but because personal goodness, like personal badness, is still the human attempt to manage effect from effect. Let us face the illusion that so quietly deceives us. We have imagined that morality brings us under divine government, that positivity ensures protection, that discipline of diet and schedule affords immunity, that a better attitude guarantees a better fate. These have their place in an ordered human life. But hear this: refinement of the person is improvement of coping within the same fragile structure. It may make the hours more pleasant, it may reduce the friction on the surface, but it has not yet touched the root. In the moment of crisis, it reveals its limitation. The body remains a mystery to be feared. Supply remains a river that can run low. Relationships remain agreements that can fray. Tomorrow remains a question mark. The better person is but a better steward of a house still built on sand. Consider the litany of our common aims. Better habits, better boundaries, better mindset, better productivity, better spirituality. Oh, we are inventive in the art of better. We clean up our language and our calendar. We edit our diet, our inbox, our social circle. We even edit our prayers, more refined phrases, more dignified requests. But has the root of insecurity been removed, or have we only rearranged it so it is less conspicuous? Has fear been dissolved, or merely taught new manners? Has death been answered, or have we just agreed not to speak of it before dinner? Let us look at cause and effect, and let it illumine this point. Anything in the external realm is an effect. We have said that. Now go one step further. The personal self that you and I labor to polish is itself an effect of birth, of education, of family patterns, of culture, of climate, of yesterday's thoughts and today's blood sugar. Searching for salvation in effects cannot yield cause. Trying to stabilize an effect by adjusting other effects is the reason for our weariness. It is why our best improvements are provisional and conditional, good until a stronger wind blows. So then the question before us is not, how do I improve me? The question that opens the door is, what is me, if God be the only cause? Not, how do I become safer as a person, but, what is identity when I is no longer a personal construction, but the presence revealing itself as being? Let this sober us, but do not let it frighten us. It is a mercy to discover the limit of personal government, because at that boundary the way of divine government begins. And in proportion as we are willing to release faith in the better person as Savior, in that proportion do we become receptive to the I that is cause. Now let us look frankly at why becoming a better human feels so spiritual, and yet leaves the throne of life occupied by the same manager. The ego is clever. Please let us be clear about that. It can learn the dialect of church and temple. It can say service. It can say humility. It can say presence. Oh yes. It can even sit perfectly still and call it meditation, while all the time remaining the central doer, the planner, the achiever, the one writing contracts with God for preferred outcomes. In that theater, the costumes have changed, but the actor has not resigned. Improvement speaks in the future tense. I will become calm. I will become generous. I will become worthy of answered prayer. Improvement draws up a schedule, tightens the belt, and marches out with measurable goals. There is nothing wrong with clean schedules. They are useful. But listen to the tone. It is still I. Surrender speaks altogether differently. It says with Jesus, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me, He doeth the works. Improvement says, give me a better instrument. Surrender says, Father, Thy will be done, and let Thy life be the only life here. There is, hidden beneath much of our devotion, a quiet bargain we have not wanted to see. We tithe, we serve, we study, we sit, so that peace may settle in, so that supply may increase, so that harmony may appear, so that a loneliness may be healed. In other words, we treat God as the means to get effects. And then we wonder why the effects wobble, why they come and go, why demonstration seems elusive precisely when it is needed most. Hear this reversal that is the heart of our way. These effects are difficult, sometimes almost impossible, until we have given up the effort to attain them. When we turn to God for God's sake, to truth for truth's sake, then in proportion as we make that turn, effects begin to line up as shadows follow form. Ego spirituality improves the manager of life. True spirituality yields the management to the Father within. One polishes the lens and boasts of clarity. The other places the whole instrument in the hands of the light. One keeps accounts of progress. The other consents to be lived. Paul put it in the only safe language. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Not I improved, not I enlarged, not I sanctified, not I at all. And here is the paradox that disarms our proud seeking. The Christ within is not an upgraded personality. Christ is life, never personal to begin with, appearing as your being in the measure that the personal sense yields. Do you see the mercy in that? You do not have to become Christ-like as a project. You have only to become still enough, empty enough of self-assertion to let Christ be what Christ is. Then management returns to cause, and effects, peace, supply, right action, come as the natural overflow of a life no longer run from the outside. Let us take up this matter plainly. When we say who you are, we are not speaking of your story, your temperament, your wounds, your triumphs, your failures. Those belong to the realm of change. They rise and fall, they appear and disappear. They are effects. Please let us be clear about that. Biography is an effect of time. Personality is an effect of conditioning. Mood is an effect of circumstance. Even our most cherished virtues, as the world counts virtue, are effects of training and preference. None of these can be identity, for identity, if it be real, must be of the nature of cause. God is cause. God is being. Therefore, real identity must be of the nature of being, life, truth, love, substance, not the fluctuating weather of human experience. We do not become being. Being is. We do not manufacture truth. Truth is. We do not strain to create love. Love is the nature of God, and the nature of God is the only nature there is. The revelation which saves us from endless self-construction is simply this: the I that you are is the I am revealed within, the Christ of God that lives itself as you. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. That is not poetry. It is the line that shifts us from personal sense to indwelling reality. Does this abolish the human? No, it redeems the human from pretense. It does not erase your hands or your voice or your daily round. It ends the claim that these are origin, that these generate life, that these sustain harmony. The human stops pretending to be the source. The mind ceases from its exhausting task of being cause, and the faculties find their rightful peace as instruments. As the psalmist would say, "The cup does not make the wine, it bears it. The branch does not produce the sap, it abides." So you and I, yielded, discover that our so-called life is not ours at all, but the life that is God, flowing without obstruction. Now, let us keep to our practical rule, because it is the key that opens the way. In proportion as we touch this I am within, in that proportion the discords of personal sense fall away. In proportion as we abide in the awareness, I can of my own self do nothing, the Father within me doeth the works. In that proportion, fear loses its voice, lack loses its argument, compulsion loses its command. Do not look for sensation to certify this. Look for the quiet ending of strain, the simple rightness of right action appearing when and where it is needed. Reading about identity is not identity. Thinking about Christ is not Christ. But when, even for a breath, the inner word is felt, not the word that goes out from your mouth, but the word that comes to you within you, then identity stands revealed, and you know yourself not as story, but as being. Take this gently, soberly, gratefully. You are not being asked to add another admirable trait to the person. You are being invited to relax the person into the I that is God expressed, to let Christ be what Christ is as your very life. And as surely as cause governs effect, as surely as light casts shadow, in that measure your outer living will show forth the harmony of its source. Now, having said that identity is revealed, not manufactured, let us correct a subtle error that robs us of the fruit of this revelation. Truth is not your right thinking. Salvation is not your affirmations. Harmony is not the product of mental discipline. Please let us be clear about that. Helpful as they may seem in the early stages of ordering a busy mind, none of these activities create spiritual power. All power is in the Word, and the Word is within you. Never the word that goes out from our mouth, however noble, however accurate, but the Word of God that comes to us within us. That is not an idea we hold, it is an impartation that holds us. In the beginning was the Word. Not, in the beginning was a technique. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Do you see? Proceedeth. Not the word we project outward, but the word that flows from God into the depths of our being. When that word is realized, when it is heard, felt, known within, it becomes to us safety, security, supply, direction, companionship, home. A memorized truth can console the mind for an hour. An imparted truth changes the state of consciousness and becomes a law unto our experience. The sea may still have waves, but the fear of drowning is not in us. The calendar may still speak of obligations, but the sense of burden is absent. The body may still require attention, but panic is gone. Why? Because cause has been contacted, and effect now takes its guidance from within. How shall we know the difference in the practical day? By its sign. The mind grows quieter without being forced. Reliance on outer supports, persons, places, plans, loosens of itself, as ivy releases a wall when the sun draws its sap elsewhere. Decisions cease to be verdicts we must secure. They are seen as unfoldments we witness. We feel governed, not driven by circumstance, not pushed by deadlines, not pulled by fear, but governed by an inner rhythm that is always timely, always sufficient. In proportion as the word is realized within, in that proportion our anxiety about outcomes fades, our compulsion to manage everything relaxes, our tendency to bargain with God melts away. We find that we are no longer trying to bring truth to bear on a condition. Truth has borne us into another atmosphere altogether. If then, power is not generated by mental work, but released by impartation, what shall be our method? Not strain, not will, not the grinding repetition of statements to persuade the sky. Our method must match our goal: receptivity, silence, listening. An inner turning that says, "Here I am," and waits, not for thunder, not for drama, but for that still, small assurance that needs no argument. Our next step, therefore, is not to think more energetically, but to be still more faithfully. To cultivate the listening ear by which the word that is already within us may be heard, realized, and allowed to govern. Meditation, then, becomes our method. Before instruction, before demonstration, before improvement, silence. Please let us be clear about that. The secret behind whatever harmony appears in our lives is not our thinking about God, not our arranging of good words, but the touch of God realized within. And that touch is seldom found in noise. It is found when we consent to be still. Be still and know that I am God. Not think about God, know. Knowing comes in the quiet. Let us also be clear about what meditation is not. It is not begging an external deity to notice us. It is not visualizing outcomes, as if imagination could coerce the universe. It is not rehearsing affirmations to batter the mind into temporary positivity. It is not wrestling thought to a standstill by willpower. Those are forms of self-construction, admirable perhaps as exercises of discipline, but still the person at the controls. Our work is different. Our meditation is a turning within, an attitude of expectancy, a listening ear for the still, small voice that needs no argument and issues no bargains. How shall we do this in a practical day? Simply, briefly, faithfully. 2 or 3 minutes in the morning before the world speaks. 2 or 3 at noon when the world is loudest. 2 or 3 at night when the world grows quiet again. And in between, many quick inner turnings, half a minute before a conversation, a breath at a red light, a silent turning while the telephone rings. Not to get something, to remember cause, to yield the field to the presence that is already within you, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. What is the inner posture? It sounds like this: Father, it's thy turn. And again, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. That is not defeat. That is doorway. That is the surrender of the self-builder that grace may govern. We are not trying to make a blank mind. We are offering a willing, unguarded heart. We are not reaching up. We are letting in. We are not outlining results. We are presenting ourselves. Here I am. In practice, you may simply close your eyes, withdraw attention from person, place, thing, from body, bank book, and calendar, and rest inwardly. No words need be spoken, or if they come, let them be few. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Then listen. not for thunder, for assurance. If nothing seems to come, do not be disturbed. Your good begins in the very act of turning. In proportion as you repeat these little silences, in that proportion the habit of self-construction loosens its grip, and the word finds entrance. Meditation ends the project of becoming and opens the governance of being. It removes the strain of management and invites the rhythm of inner law. Little by little, and sometimes all at once, you will notice that decisions present themselves, that right action ripens of its own accord, that fear has fewer places to sit. Why? Because cause has been enthroned where it belongs, within, and effects, relieved of our anxious handling, align themselves like shadows following form. Now we come to the paradox that offends pride and relieves the weary. Many of us have prayed, "I want to be more Christ-like." Please let us be clear about that. Often we have meant, "I want my personality to behave better. I want my temperament to resemble what I imagine Jesus would admire." There is sincerity in that wish, and sincerity is precious. But if we remain in that plan, we are still trying to dress the actor for a holier role. Christ is not a human trait. Christ is not a temperament improvement. Christ is the divine presence revealing itself as your very being. You do not add Christ to the person. The person yields, and the life that is Christ lives. This is why Paul could only say it this way: "I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me." Not I improved, not I fortified, not I adorned with better habits, not I at all. Here is the binary that keeps us honest. Not personal will, but divine government. Not the improvement of effects, but contact with cause. In the 15th chapter of John, the key is given, not as poetry, but as instruction. "Abide in me, and I in you. For without me, ye can do nothing." Abiding is not striving. Abiding is not performance. Abiding is consent to presence as the only life of this life. What then does yielding look like in the day? Less obsession with self-image, less measuring of spiritual progress, less performance before God or people. The inner chatter that asks, "How am I doing?" begins to lose its audience. The appetite for reporting improvement, numbers, streaks, days without failure, fades. In its place, a quiet integrity appears. Spontaneous right action comes without rehearsal. You discover yourself gentle in a conversation, not because you strained to be gentle, but because love had the field. You find restraint not because you tightened the reins, but because peace governed. You notice guidance not as a forced decision, but as an unfolding you simply recognize. In proportion as you yield to cause, in that proportion the effects bear the unmistakable mark of grace. Timeliness without hurry, sufficiency without hoarding, service without self-importance. Do not hear in this a rebuke. Hear relief. You were never appointed to carry the burden of becoming spiritual by willpower. Come unto me. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The yoke is not a program. It is yieldedness. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. That is not resignation. It is right order. It is the end of pleading to be made better and the beginning of consenting to be lived. How shall we practice this consent? As we have learned, by the little silences in which we no longer tell Christ how to make us Christ-like, but simply present ourselves. Father, thy life be the life here. Thy wisdom be the mind here. Thy love be the love here. No outlining, no managing, no bargaining. Abide, morning, noon, night, and those brief returns in between. Resist the impulse to check results. Let the tree bear its fruit in season. Christ within is not what you achieve, it is what you consent to let live as you. And as cause governs, effects, conduct, choices, relations, supply, assume their rightful place as the quiet shadow of a life no longer run from the outside. In the 15th chapter of John, we are given a key, not as literature, but as instruction. Abide in me, and I in you, for without me, ye can do nothing. Please let us be clear about that. Abide is not admire. Abide is not believe about. Abide is remain, continue, live. Abiding is a continuous inward resting in the presence as the life of this life. It is not a visit during danger, nor a sprint of devotion followed by long neglect. Abiding is the posture in which the branch ceases from self-production and simply permits the vine to be its life. Do you see the conditional? Without me, ye can do nothing. In proportion as we live in this inner consent, in that proportion do the works appear, not as the result of our planning, but as the fruit of life flowing. The 91st Psalm says the same word in the Hebrew way. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Dwell means to live. To live, not to lodge there for an hour, not to make emergency trips to a chapel of last resort. To dwell is to take up residence, to let consciousness be anchored in God within, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. And what is the secret place? Not a spot under a tree, not a sacred geography, not even a room with a door shut, though such a room may help us begin. The secret place is the state of awareness that has withdrawn dependence from persons, places, and things, and rests in the I that is God revealed within. It is secret because it is interior. It is place because it is real. Now notice how Scripture speaks in effects: shadow, refuge, shield, deliverance. But all these are contingent upon the cause, which is dwelling. He that dwelleth shall abide under the shadow. The shadow is automatic. The safety is not achieved by chasing safety. It appears because dwelling has restored cause to its throne. In proportion as we dwell, live, remain, abide, in that proportion accidents lose their terror, contagion loses its argument, lack loses its authority. Not because we have asserted a promise at a problem, but because we have turned from problem and promise alike to God as cause, and the word realized within becomes law to the outer scene. Scripture's promises are not magic statements. They are descriptions of a lived inner abiding. Take them as methods, and everything changes. Abide. Live in inward consent. Dwell. Make your home in the presence within. Enter the secret place. Withdraw for a breath, for a minute, for a day if given, into the awareness, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Then let the works be the Father's. This brings us to our application. We must learn, gently and firmly, to stop treating conditions. Stop trying to make truth do something to effects. When fear knocks, when pain argues, when supply seems thin, do not lunge at the symptom with statements. Turn. turn within, abide, dwell, return to cause. In that quiet, even if no thunder announces it, the word will be felt or simply known, and in that measure, the outer picture will assume its rightful harmony, not as a prize won, but as a shadow cast by the presence that governs from within. Application, then. Let us name the habit that defeats us so quietly. When pain touches the body, we rush to fix the body. When figures trouble the bank book, we rush to fix the bank book. When a word wounds in the home or the office, we rush to fix the person and the relationship. And having brought a spiritual vocabulary to these repairs, we call it prayer. Please let us be clear about that. Taking truth statements to a condition is still working on effects. It is the person at the controls, trying to make spirit do something to matter. That is not our way. Our correction is simple and absolute. Do not give a treatment to a person or a condition. Do not attempt to make truth act upon an appearance. Turn from the appearance to the presence. Withdraw your faith from persons, from places, from things, from the pill as power, from the paycheck as power, from the personality as power, and let faith return to its home in the kingdom within you. Anything in the external realm is an effect. God alone is cause. Liberation begins precisely where we stop managing effects and consent to be governed by cause. How shall this look at the first flare of fear? The very instant the argument presents itself, pain, notice, lack, notice, conflict, notice. Let the notice become a signal. Close the inner door, even for a breath. Turn. Father, reveal thyself here. Not, Father, fix this, but reveal thyself. Or quietly, what is the truth of being? Then silence. No outlining, no bargaining. A receptive pause, an attitude of expectancy. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Wait, not long if the moment is crowded, but real. Even 10 honest seconds will break the hypnotism of appearances and reopen the channel through which impartation comes. If words wish to arise, let them be few and Godward. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Or simply, here I am. Then listen. Not for a voice necessarily, but for the subtle shift that tells you the mesmerism has lost its claim. You will know it by its fruit. The pulse eases. The compulsion to fix relaxes. A right step presents itself, or the urge to step subsides. In proportion as you practice this little turning, repeated 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, morning, noon, and night, and at every bell of fear, in that proportion you will find that the so-called problem ceases to be a tyrant and becomes a teacher, reminding you to return to cause. Do not measure this by immediate outer change. Measure it by obedience. Each return is itself the demonstration beginning, because each return withdraws power from effect and acknowledges God as the only law and life here. Over and over, let the formula be the same. Do not treat the appearance. Turn to the presence. Let the word within do what the mind cannot. All power is in the word, and the word is within you. As you abide in that inner government, effects quietly align of themselves like shadows to the form, and outcome chasing ends, not by conquest, but by outgrowing dependence on anything less than cause. What then will you witness as you stop treating effects and consent to inner government? Please let us be clear about that. We are not promising instant perfection, nor are we sketching a fairy tale path where storms never blow. We are describing a change of government, The seat of authority moves from the restless manager we have called me to the indwelling presence. The conditions of a day may still come, deadlines, bills, conversations, appointments, but the tone of life changes because the cause of life has been acknowledged within. The weather may vary, your climate steadies. In such government, there appears peace without suppression. Not the brittle quiet of clenched teeth, but that deep hush that needs no argument to be calm. There appears integrity without strain. Not the moral posture of a self-willed saint, but spontaneous rightness, truthfulness, simplicity, follow-through, because the motive power is clean. There appears supply without anxiety. Not hoarding, not magical windfalls as toys for the ego, but sufficiency. Enough light for the next step, enough bread for the day, enough wisdom for the hour. And there appear relationships without manipulation. Not the choreography of people to meet our needs, but a natural reciprocity. Listening, speaking, giving, receiving, governed by love rather than by fear of loss or hunger for approval. These are not achievements, they are effects. They are shadows cast by the form of inner order. In proportion as your contact within becomes steadier, in that proportion do outward discords lose their authority. The body may still ask for care, but the panic claim is not in you. The calendar may still be full, but hurry loses its tyranny. The bank book still records in and out, but dread loses its microphone. The home and office still require speech, but the compulsion to defend or to sway relaxes. Why? Because the word, realized within, has become law to your atmosphere. All power is in the word, and the word is within you. Do not imagine that inner government erases human steps. It redeems them. You will still dial the telephone, but it will be the right call at the right hour, minus the frantic preface. You will still sign and unsign, accept and decline, speak and be silent. But with that quiet recognition, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Then action is simple, timely, sufficient. Decisions are witnessed rather than forced. Doors close without insult, doors open without boasting. Even your no will carry peace, your yes, restraint. And if, at first, you feel nothing, no light, no warmth, do not be disturbed. Your good begins with the turning itself. Each return to the secret place weakens the old hypnosis and strengthens the new government. Repeated 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, these little obediences accumulate into a new center of gravity. In that measure, life arranges itself, not as a prize you win by effort, but as a natural harmony flowing from cause. This is our demonstration. When inner government is restored, outer harmony appears as effect, quietly, inevitably, like shadow to form. Let us, then, take a gentle inventory, not to accuse, to free. We are not here to add another reason for self-disappointment. We are here to notice, with honesty and kindness, the places where we have tried to recruit God to decorate the persona, to make the human scene safer, brighter, more admired. Please let us be clear about that. Every one of us has done it. We have read truth and quietly thought, if I do this well, I will be above ordinary troubles. I will be known as advanced. And then, when a wind arises, we hurry to patch the image, to defend the progress report, instead of returning to the secret place. How shall we recognize this subtle misplacement? By its signs. compulsive comparing, measuring our spiritual day against another's story, pleased when we seem ahead, sore when we seem behind. Spiritual pride, telling the tale of illumination to harvest esteem, employing sacred language as a badge. Fear of failure, anxiety that a difficulty will ruin our demonstration, as if God's life depended on our performance. Constant self-analysis, endless autopsies of yesterday's motives, the microscope pressed hard upon the heart. The need to feel advanced, hunting for the next experience, the next technique, the next teacher, so that we may be certain we are no longer among beginners. All of this is the person, still at the controls, asking spirit to polish its reflection. What then is our remedy? Not battle, not scolding, not another resolution to improve the improver. Return to silence. Each time you notice the itch to manage your image, let it become a bell. Close the inner door, even for 10 seconds. Father, reveal thyself. Or simply, here I am. Then listen. Do not argue with the urge. Allow presence to dissolve it. We outgrow ego spirituality not by condemnation, but by repeated return to the presence. Repeated 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, morning, noon, and night, and whenever the old hunger to be seen as holy begins to whisper. Keep a simple inner question ready and let it do its work. Am I seeking God or seeking an outcome? Ask it before you speak, before you post, before you explain yourself, before you craft a prayer aimed at results. If you find you are seeking an outcome, yield it. Father, I release the result. Be thou the life here. Then rest a moment in that surrender. In proportion as you ask this question and yield the outcome, in that proportion the fever of image management cools, the compulsion to prove something fades, and the quiet joy of abiding returns. This is not a heroic path. It is a faithful one. No trumpets, no scorecards. Little turnings, frequent silences, honest questions, steady yielding. In that rhythm, the person no longer uses God. God lives the person. And as surely as cause governs effect, the atmosphere clears. Less strain, more ease. Less performance, more presence. Do not be disturbed if the impulse to decorate the self appears again tomorrow. Let it ring the bell. Turn within. Abide. Dwell. And let the Father within do the works. Now let us live this. For 1 week, only 7 days, make the experiment. Please let us be clear about that. Not to improve the person, but to yield the field to the presence. Your watchwords are simple and exact. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Let this be the atmosphere of the week. Schedule it. 2 or 3 minutes upon waking, before the world speaks. 2 or 3 minutes at noon, when the world is loudest. 2 or 3 minutes in the evening, when the world quiets. In addition, choose 3 to 5 moments each day for mini turnings. Half a minute before you open your email. Half a minute as you reach a doorway. Half a minute while the phone rings. Half a minute before you answer a difficult question. Half a minute at a red light. Repeated 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, morning, noon, and night, these little obediences establish a new government within. Posture. No mental work, no rehearsed words, no bargaining with the sky. Our meditation is not in the nature of mental effort. Sit or stand quietly. Withdraw attention, gently, from person, place, thing, from body, bankbook, and calendar. Adopt an attitude of expectancy, a listening rather than a speaking. Enter with one line only: Father, reveal thyself. Then rest. Do not push, do not outline. Rest until the mind softens and the breath grows easy. If a sense of presence dawns, beautiful. If not, do not be disturbed. Your good has begun in the turning itself. All power is in the Word, and the Word is within you, not in your effort, but in impartation. Add this practical test. When any problem presents itself, pain argues, numbers threaten, tempers rise, do not plan first. Pause. Close the inner door, even for 10 honest seconds. Turn within. Father, reveal thyself here. Then listen. If a next step is shown, take that one step and no more. If no step is shown, wait inwardly until the urgency cools, and then move in simplicity with the light you have. In proportion as you practice this, in that proportion you will find decisions presenting themselves, and the compulsion to manage effects losing its authority. Let the week be measured not by outcomes, but by obedience to these turnings. Little silences, frequent consent, quiet expectancy. Abide, dwell, yield. And as you do, identity will not be improved. It will be revealed. For who you are is not a better human. It is Christ realized, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet.